With the recent announcement of the Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut, we can't help but remember some of our favorite moments from the samurai games of past, and although we can't quite agree with the cost of the director's cut price tag, we can agree on the fact that the samurai are badass. They have cool looking armor, super sharp blades, and even sharper moves. Not to mention they've been portrayed in some of the most memorable media from directors like Akira Kurosawa and Yoji Yamada. There's quite a few games out there centered around the samurai, but it seems like there just isn't enough. Perhaps if you love the sword swinging adventure of a samurai just as much as we do, this is the video for you. Hey guys, I'm Naisu with UnGeek, and here are 5 awesome samurai games you need to play. Starting off on our list, Nioh is one of those games that was heavily influenced by Dark Souls. This seems to be a common phrase these days. With that being said, Nioh offers a fresh spin on the combat system, requiring you to make adjustments on the fly and adapt your playstyle to the game and enemies you face. Now, there's a lot to Nioh to learn, from the menus to the combat system, to the amount of buttons you can literally mash or intricately push with mastery unlike no other. Aside from that, one of the best parts about Nioh is the colorful cast of characters, and even some notable historical figures such as Hattori Hanzo, not to mention the beautifully put together environments fit for exploration. If you're really into big boss battles that bring a challenge, then Nioh is one of the games for you. The game at its base provides a nice challenge for seasoned players, but for the extremely dedicated, or perhaps insane, you can go for Nioh's Twilight missions. These are super challenging, replayable versions of the missions that you've already finished. Nioh also focuses on some awesome combat with a variety of weapons, skills, and magic. You'll get access to a variety of samurai-esque weapons such as swords, bows, spears, even guns, and throwing stars. As for the story, without giving anything away, you're basically an Englishman in a demonic-ridden Japan on a quest that leads you throughout each battle. With all that being said, Nioh can definitely provide you with a great samurai experience and over 100 hours of gameplay. Also, Nioh 2 is just as an amazing game as Nioh 1 was, but we had to keep the original here on our list as it introduced us to the series. Moving on. As a huge fan of Desperados, Wanted, Dead or Alive, and the top-down tactical stealth genre, when I stumbled upon Shadow Tactics: Blades of the Shogun, I was instantly intrigued. I love stealth, I love samurai and ninjas, and Shadow Tactics has a heavy reliance on stealth. Okay, so that might not sound too samurai-y, but look, my favorite character and most time spent was on Mugen, who happened to be the samurai of the cast of characters. So, going back, yeah, the stealth is super essential, and there can be multiple ways to complete a level, but in the end, you have to take enemies out one by one and hide the bodies or sneak around so nobody notices you. Any evidence of your existence is a death sentence. The art style is also a big hit for me. There's a mix of comic cartoon style with realism, and it works super well here. Not to mention the level design and themes of the Japanese culture is just very well put together. There's also a cast of entertaining characters for this one, and as I said, Mugen was one of my favorites. A samurai who can take out a bunch of enemies with his katana, throw sake to distract guards, and also the muscle of the group. Each level pretty much faces you off with a series of choices to make with various characters available to you. There's lots of ways to take on each level with variables such as day or night cycles, weather, and various hiding spots. The map design is sort of like looking at a huge puzzle and finding the right way to put it together and complete the stage. One last note about Shadow Tactics: make sure you get used to saving, because you're going to be saving and loading a lot. Overall though, this game is worth every penny, and it felt really mentally satisfying pulling off some of the later stages. The Total War series of games was always an interesting one. They pulled me in at first with large-scale battles, but for me personally, I had a hard time grasping the nuances of the previous games when it came to managing the various aspects of the game. However, with Total War Shogun 2, I heard that it was more of a trimmed-down version of the previous Total War games, so I gave it a shot. Just like the original Shogun back in 2000, the Total War formula has 2 parts. A turn-based campaign of map management, which reminded me a lot like Civilization. There's a lot of detail here, but essentially you focus on navigating the world, building up your clan and its resources leading into the second portion of the game. Total War real-time combat. Two armies going head-to-head on the battlefield, commanding thousands of units, and you can tell the studio has put many years of fine-tuning to really present the players with a beautifully crafted experience of combat, gameplay, sound, and visuals. If you're a fan of the Total War games, this has to be one of the most refined and polished versions. As someone who tried their first Total War game when I was a lot younger, aka a noob, I can say that Total War Shogun 2 was a lot easier for me to pick up and enjoy. Ghost of Tsushima was one of those games that I was hoping for a long time. I had been a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed games and always low-key hoped for one of those games to head into a Japanese-themed story. However, that never really happened. Thus, with Ghost of Tsushima, I sort of had my hopes come true, and to be honest, it surpassed my hopes for this type of game. I honestly don't know how many hours I spent actually just roaming around on my horse through those beautiful fields because the visuals were just so good even on the PS4 version. It's one of those things I'm really looking forward to in the PS5 upgrade for the director's cut. It's one of those games where you just stop and admire the amount of detail that went not only into the surrounding environments, but also the armors, the weapons, and the focus on the scenery, and especially the soundtrack.
The Khan deserves to suffer!
A beautifully crafted story focusing on honor and the struggles of a man going against the traditional samurai beliefs, very fun and addicting combat with lots of skills and stances to mess around with, beautiful armor, and lots of lore. Ghost of Tsushima was over 100 hours of fun samurai action. And if you want more of a traditional experience, you can even play the game in the Kurosawa mode, which is the old school black and white camera mode in honor of Akira Kurosawa, the highly influential and great Japanese filmmaker. I'm really excited to see what's just in store for us on that new island in the upcoming director's cut. Coming from Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I must say Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was like a love child between the two for me. Throw in some stealth action into a game and you have a great mix of enemy encounters, challenges, and stealth game mechanics. Now the game is set in the Sengoku period in Japan, and it tells the story of the shinobi, known as the Wolf, as he tries to take revenge on the samurai clan who attacked him. Now, to most Souls players, the combat of timed attacks and proper swordplay mechanics will be familiar, although there's a lot more focus on parrying and definitely more offense focused than Dark Souls. Also, the concept of resting and saving up at the bonfires, the sculptor's idols, will also be familiar to longtime Souls players. One of my favorite things about Sekiro is the level design difference. There's a lot of vertical play between jumping and ziplining across anchors, and when you're in danger, there's usually some way to get out of it. That type of mobility really enforces the stealth aspects of the game. The game is just a really great piece of art that does justice to Japanese folklore, and on top of that, it got Game of the Year in 2019. The Game of the Year edition brought in some new cosmetic skins, boss challenges, and a method to help other players through remnants or messages and recordings. So if everything we talked about previously wasn't enough to convince you, maybe being Game of the Year is a sign that Sekiro is a game worth checking out. And that's our list. Those are some of our favorite samurai-based or themed games to this date. What are some of your favorite samurai games? And let us know in the comments below. Again guys, I am Nice with UnGeek. Until next time, thanks for watching.